Hello, and welcome to me working on my Mercruiser 470 3.7 LX engine again. Now I'm going to put the exhaust manifold on now. So I'm just going to sort of clean out all the holes. I'm going to run a tap down all the holes where the manifold bolts and studs are going, so as I know that they're all running properly, so that the manifold seats on these faces properly. Now, while I'm doing this, if you remember back, if you've seen my previous videos, I think it's the bent pushrod investigation, you'll have seen the manifold I took off this engine and the fact that it was scrap. Now, I have really struggled trying to find an exhaust manifold for this engine. Not one in the UK at all. There are people that can get them in Europe, but they were brand new and they were just far too much money. I ended up ordering a second-hand one from the States, and obviously it cost me the same amount in postage as what the manifold cost me. So it's not a cheap exercise getting an exhaust manifold. It got to the point where I was starting to think of different things that I could do to try and get round putting the original exhaust manifold and either fabricating some form of replacement or whatever, which led me to start questioning exactly why you have to have a water-cooled exhaust system on a large inboard marine engine. I've just sort of cleaned out the last bolt there, and I've got this plate here. This plate is the shifter plate for where the shifter select goes in. So I just had to sort of work out where those were, because that sits on two studs, not bolts. So I'll put some anti-seize compound, copper slip in the holes, pair of lock nuts, just winding the two studs in. But anyway, let's get back to the reason why. So I was sort of trying to find out the reason why this exhaust manifold had to be water cooled. Why did the exhaust system have to be cooled? And basically what it comes down to is power. Okay, so long and short, everything to do with this engine, it's just old school, pour petrol in. You want to get as much power as you can out the back. And you've got your engine in its engine bay, sort of nice fiberglass sealed engine bay with a bit of soundproof around it. And you've basically made an oven. There's no airflow going through it to cool it or anything. So it all has to rely on water cooling. Okay, so in your engine bay, for every 10 degrees Fahrenheit of temperature that your engine bay rises, you lose 1% of your horsepower. So if I've got 180 horsepower engine, my engine bay comes up in temperature to an extra 10 degrees, I've lost 1.8 horsepower. Just put some copper slip on all these bolts now as well. That's steel bolts going into an aluminium exhaust manifold. Got plenty of anti-seize compound on them, so as they all go in. But let's go back to the power issue. So if you raise the temperature in your engine bay by 100 degrees Fahrenheit, you've lost 18 horsepower. 100 degrees is not a lot, especially if you've got a manifold that isn't cooled. That's just like a heating element in an oven that's just going to keep on heating and heating and heating. And it's just, so that's the reason why I found. So yeah, for every 10 degrees Fahrenheit the temperature rises, you lose 1% of your horsepower. So 100 degrees Fahrenheit, you've lost 10% of your horsepower. So, and 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and a lot. Anyway, just coming along now, nipping up these the bolts. There's you see I've put a few new bolts in here. These aren't Mercruiser bolts. These are actually from a classic Jaguar suspension unit. They're the same size and thread, and something that I had, so I put them in. Now the gear selector plate goes on. This plate has got the switch on it, which I think disables the starting if it's in gear. there's an electric switch on here anyway, and I know like the selector for the gear select is on there. If you notice now, the engine's getting a bit top heavy, so I've got to get a bit of wood and jam it under the rear mounting, under the bell housing, just to stabilise it a bit. I'm going to have to sort of think of something a bit better than that as more stuff goes on here. It's going up in the air with parts. I mean, it's got a cast iron header tank which goes on the exhaust manifold, which will make that higher, heavier, and bring the weight higher up. But yeah, so just getting these last couple of nuts on and give those a whiz up. And then we'll just go along it all, give it its final nip, make sure it's seated down on its gasket, and that's the exhaust manifold on. Like I say, trying to get one of these in this country, just forget that, no chance. So there it is. Okay, just a final nip now, give it a good wrench over. Plenty of anti-seize compound on all of these bolts. You've got steel bolts going through an aluminium manifold. When I took the old one off, I did have it seized in there. It took me a long time to get it off. But there you go. That's on. Move on to the next stage. I'd like to thank you for watching. That's another bit more on the engine. The carburetor situation, it's all stripped down. I've managed to find a friend of mine who's got a sonic bath. So it's sat in there at the moment, hopefully getting cleaned up. Got a repair kit for it. I would like to thank Jeff. Cheers, bud. Your instruction manual you've sent me, absolutely fantastic. I mean, the section in that about the carburetor, absolutely brilliant. It's got all the measurements I need and everything to set that carburetor up specifically for that engine. Godsend. I wouldn't be able to do it without that. I really do appreciate that, mate. Thank you very much. I'd like to thank you all for watching. Again, give me a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. It's always encouraging to get the subscriptions and everything. It shows that people are interested in what I'm doing. And thanks a lot. Hope everything goes well for you next year. Hopefully we might get on with it next year and see if it sees the water. But see you soon. Oh, by the way, don't forget, thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe if you want more. See you later.